Good morning, everybody. David Atkins here. I told you I was going to do a video today on game stalking techniques and methods used. And, this is very informative. Unfortunately, I went into a group on Facebook. And this dude's calling me a perp. But you know what? I'm not a perp, and I don't have nothing to prove. I go through torture every day. I got torture from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock this morning. They've been doing it every morning for the last 3 or 4 months, starting in 3 o'clock's the witching hour. They pulsate my brain with electrical pulses, make it feel like it's frying. All I can do is cover my head up with one pillow and put my head in the pillow like that. I wish I wasn't a TI. I wish I wasn't getting tortured. I have no reason to fake this bullshit. And I apologize because some people talk to me about cussing in my videos, but man, I don't call nobody a perp unless I know 100% sure, because that's what a smear campaign is. That's an example of a smear campaign. Calling somebody a perp and you don't know for a fact? Oh, no, that's a no-no. And that's very offensive to people. And, some people that ain't strong enough that are TIs, they get called perps. That can they can make them totally leave groups and stop coming and just give up, So, I'm glad I'm strong-minded. I know I'm not no perp. I get V2K, direct energy weapons, tortured every day. And then when I'm out, I get gang stalk threats, all that. So anyway, I'm going to start my video. It's about methods and tactics used by gang stalkers. Because there are a lot of people who don't experience as much weapons or V2K, but they go through a lot of gang stalking, There are people who are gang stalked but don't get hit with weapons. And so I wanted to cover this subject, So anyway, I'm going to start talking about anchoring. Anchoring is a technique employed by stalkers to implant a false motivation or reason behind the stalking, preventing the victim from discovering the truth. In more sinister examples, anchoring involves the implantation of evidence to persuade the victim some other group or organization is responsible for the abuse. In organized gang stalking, anchoring is used to make the target have fear with things happening in your daily life that's considered to be normal. That can be done with frequent demonstrations. The key is frequency, just like the other gang stalking methods. For example, people show you a pin everywhere you go, and their attitude is rude or crazy against you. You don't know them. You just wonder what's going on. Imagine that happens every day for a week, for a month, for a year. Then that makes you have fear with a pin. In this case, a pin is anchored with your state of fear. It can be anything: an open car door, a trunk, a pencil, a cell phone, a notebook computer, a medical mask, clothes of the same color, anything. Every time I go somewhere during the day, an anchoring threat is made by a car or truck with doors or trunks open, and no one is sitting in someone's driveway along my route. This is a sign to get out. Air stalking. This is when helicopters or planes or drones are used to track targets that are on foot or in cars. They fly overhead and follow the targets from one location to the next. Some will monitor the targets shortly after they leave their homes. And I talked to a target last night on the phone. A drone came down right in front of her car while she was driving at night. Baiting, entrapment. The term baiting is a stalking tactic used to lure a victim into environments or situations which cause further problems to the victim. Often, baiting involves tricking a victim in committing a crime or unknowingly engaging in illegal activity to lure into dangerous, difficult, or compromising situations. Members of these organized stalking and harassment groups will try to lure targets into various situations for the sole purpose of setting them up. Setting them up targets could involve getting them arrested, institutionalized, set up on fake sexual harassment charges, drug charges, illegal pornographic materials, etc. Once this happens, it puts the target at risk for entrapment into becoming members themselves. And, I was baited by my own mom. And when I got there, for months, she blackmailed me, saying if I didn't get money from my dad and give it to her, she was going to have me committed. Well, I went to Walmart with her one day. She called the law and said I was threatening her and I was a mental case. And I luckily had her threats and stuff on video. And if you scroll down to the first couple of videos, you'll hear that video where she blackmailed me. I showed it to the cop and he took my side, luckily, after seeing the video of her blackmailing me. And then but he made me leave the house. So that's how I ended up homeless. Again, brighting is shining or flashing bright headlights on targets. As targets walk on the street, usually at night, members of these organized stalking will turn on their high beams. This must be flashed once or twice at targets. They might be used to let targets know they are being watched. However, these signals might also be a way for informants in cars at nights to communicate with their fellow counterparts. The foot patrols will then communicate back to the informant in the car using a combination of hand signals. You will see members of these groups riding around during the day with their headlights or high beams on. The victim usually is followed and may be flashed from either a tailgating vehicle or passing or coming on. Brighting also occurs when bright lights are flashed into the victim's home windows. And car accidents, they love to do this. Targeted individuals complain about being cut off, driven off the road in near fatal or fatal car accidents. Pedestrian targets complain about cars that consistently cut them off, being hit by cars, and almost near mishaps. Crowding, mobbing. Crowding and mobbing is when the target is in public. Members of these organized stalking groups will usually try to box in the target. They will surround the target in a square-like formation if possible. They will stand too close to the target or swarm them. Quote, we experienced being mobbed by vehicles from Connecticut, New York, and New Jersey at the beginning of our trip. Some of the gang stalkers were couples with their children along, and some smirked at us and showed weapons to us through their windows, though none actually fired upon us. And I want to go back to this baiting thing. I met somebody that was supposed to be a TI in Denver. She told me she'd get me a place to stay and stuff, and had me a place to stay. All I had to do was make it to Denver. I took a plane from the shelter. I got money from IRS that I had missed, stimulus check. I bought a plane ticket to Denver. I got to Denver. She picked me up, drew me an hour away to Littleton. Then after about 2 hours of me hanging out with her, she said, what are you going to do? I ain't driving you back, and I don't have nowhere for you to stay. I stayed in the woods that night, went back to the Denver airport, bought a ticket back to Memphis because, like I said, I had a $1,400 stimulus check from the IRS I never got. So, boom, I fell out at the Denver airport, and my leg's partially paralyzed. My walker's over there. I can get it to show you proof, though, just so people don't think I'm lying. Yeah, so I got a partially paralyzed leg, and I fell out at the Denver airport and was in the hospital from September 9th to October 21st. That's an example of baiting too. People will get you in an area and then just leave you, get you to come to the area. That's baiting. I was baited by that supposed TI. Color harassment. Color harassment is literally the use of color to harass a victim. Usually monochromatic color schemes are used. Though this choice is pretty much up to the stalkers, an example of color harassment would be a line of stalkers in red shirts circling a victim. Color harassment is often combined with other stalking tactics. Convoy. Convoy is a tactic of stalkers referring to the practice of group tailgating cars passing repeatedly in front of the home of the victim. Vehicles used must be of the same colors, and stalkers must be honk the horn or flash the car headlights as they pass. Cyber stalking. Cyber stalking or cyber harassment is a related group harassment of behavior occurring on the internet or online. Cyber stalking includes, but is not limited to, computer hacking, trolling, spamming, often including porn deluges, verbal assaults, character assassination, impersonations of the victim. Online harassment is a plank of the harassment protocol. If you have a website devoted to organized stalking, you may have people emailing you to flame you, or claiming that they are victims and asking for support with the intention of discrediting you. You may receive unsolicited emails parallel a current event in your life. Again, surveillance is used primarily for harassment, or you may receive covert insults and threats. If you join a support group, you may also receive harassment via threads posted on message boards. Like other mediums of harassment, these topics of threads may be about events that are unfolding in your personal life, as well as threats or insults covertly directed at you. This will probably happen repeatedly by the same people or person or people. They may also employ some gaslighting or jacketing tactic. Jacketing was often used during COINTELPRO to make genuine activists look like informants. Some internet groups which help stalking victims are heavily populated with perpetrators posing as victims. Some of these perpetrators seem to be very vocal and popular members of these support groups. And where it says cyber stalking, I got text the other day that said, "Hey Lisa, I bought you a steak and I can't wait for you to come over and eat it." And my TI friend I met was cooking steak when I called her. So they done that to try to throw across, "Oh, you sent that. You're cooking steak. You sent that." They do all kinds of stuff. Electronic harassment. Electronic harassment is the use of technology devices to spy on or cause harm to the victims. For example, exposure to a high magnetic field has been shown to induce hallucinations in humans, while exposure to intense microwave radiation induces psychotic episodes and causes brain damage. A frequent from electronic harassment involves being a low-frequency hum tone into a victim's home or general area. Over time, the exposure causes the victim to lose sleep, become agitated, and suffer the effects of prolonged stress. Such tactics are being used in cases of hostage situations as well as covert government operations. Electromagnetic weapons and frequencies will be used on a target on their homes. The purpose of using EMF, electromagnetic frequency on targets and their belongings, are multifaceted. Electronic frequencies can destroy electronic equipment. Electronic frequencies can be used for monitoring and tracking inside the home and at work. It can also be used for the purposes of sleep disturbance. When conducting these covert investigations, feel that they have psychologically destroyed the target to where they are nearly broke down, they will start to use these weapons. They will also use these weapons if targets are not going along with their harassment protocol. Fake credibility reports. Fake credibility reports. Fake credibility reports are being used to subtly discredit and attack legitimate websites regarding organized gang stalking, including the Gangstalking World website, under the guise of doing good for the community. Files. It has been indicated that targets will have warning markers placed against their files. The information is then shared with relatives, storekeepers, friends, and the community at large. The files are usually not left behind, but they're used to prejudice and slander individuals against the target. These files can be engendered to the corporation of friends and associates of the target. The files might have a picture of the target and information about some alleged crime, incidents that the target has been flagged for or is under investigation for. The information is very convincing and helps to further get targets harassed by those around them. I went to 20 states in 2018 and experienced that, and I still experience it today. Luckily, my roommate and these other people know what's going on and know not to believe it if they show them a file. But I'm sure there's people where I'm at that's been shown a file about me, and it's all lies. But it convinces everybody, storekeepers, everybody to turn against you. And I hate that shit. That's I get hit with direct energy weapons, and it hurts, and it's torture. But having everybody turned against you and not knowing what the fuck, oh, my bad, about to cuss, not knowing what's being spread about you, oh man, it's hell. Because you see that it's apparent these people are gangster and they're against you, but you don't know what they've been told about you. But you know it's lies. I can't stand the filing. Gaslighting. Gaslighting is a psychological technique used by members of these groups. The purpose of gaslighting is to make a victim question his or her sanity, doing little things to try to make the target think they're going crazy. Gaslighting simply is trying to convince someone that they're crazy or imagining things. Example, if you mention organized gang stalking to someone who knows about it and they tell you you're crazy or paranoid, they are gaslighting you. The term gaslighting originates from the 1944 film Gaslight. In the movie, the character of Gregory Anton, played by actor Charles Boyer, attempts to drive the character Pauline, played by actress Ingrid Bergman, insane. The phrase gaslighting comes to mean similar actions and behavior as used in the film against victim 1944 Gaslight, starring Ingrid Bergman. Ghosting. The term ghosting refers to a practice of rearranging or moving of a victim's home furniture, lawn decorations, desk decorations at work, etc. The purpose of ghosting is to make a victim question his or her sanity. Ghosting is also designed to make others question sanity of the victim, especially if the victim attempts to complain of the abuse. Gestures. Hand gestures, such as intensely touching hand to face or bringing fist to hand to face while around the person being targeted. Arm gestures, members of these organized stalking and harassment groups repeatedly driving by a person who is being targeted or their home, holding their arms out of the vehicle windows, usually in an unnatural position. It is known fact that these individuals involved in organized gang stalking and technology harassment are also involved in illegal criminal racketeering operations with use of remote neural monitoring, where these individuals are profiting off individuals involving in masturbation in some cases. These armed gestures are being done to victims as degenerate, subliminal, sexual, symbolic masturbation trigger. We already know that individuals involved in this crime and cults are obsessed with symbols and numbers. Individuals who are victims of organized gang stalking, harassment, and human trafficking and racketeering are daily being subjected to these intentional, bizarre harassment armed gestures, being used as subliminal persuasion sexual gestures by these degenerate, deranged cult members who are, if not directly involved in the human trafficking operations, are being used as cheerleaders for those involved in operating human trafficking and racketeering operation by the use of remote neural monitoring satellite technology. Illegal surveillance. This involves setting up audio and some visual surveillance of the target, bugging the target's phone, surveillance in the target's residence, listening to cell phones and hardline conversations, hacking into their computers, and learning all about what the target is doing, sites they frequent, or planning things. This also helps to build a profile of the target and is used for later psychological attacks against the target. Via parroting and direct conversations. Examples of illegal surveillance: illegal criminal electronic monitoring, illegal criminal phone and computer taps, illegal criminal remote neural monitoring. Mimicry. Mimicry is mirroring a specialized form of harassment in which the stalkers publicly imitate every movement made by the victim. This is trying to copy things in the target's life, leaving when they do, dressing like they dress, throwing out the garbage, going to the bathroom, doing whatever the target is doing. This is all described by psychological warfare so that the target again feels like they are under observation at all times. Mobbing is a term that describes group bullying. Of itself, mobbing is not equated with gang stalking. However, mobbing may be a tactic used by the perpetrators of gang stalking. Mobbing. A noise harassment. A noise harassment is an orchestrated effort to produce stress in a victim through prolonged exposure to significant voice levels. A noise campaign can range from multiple neighbors to routinely playing loud music. Vengeful stalkers with air horns or fireworks are organizing repair work that involves a high level of noise. This will include anything from loud vehicles, loud mufflers, doors slamming above and below you, garbage disposal, slamming doors, hammering intentionally, slamming car doors, loud stereos, stomping at specific times, coughing, slamming, water running, cupboards, doors being slammed, fridge, motor running all night. Number harassment. Number harassment is the use of numbers to harass a target victim. This could include brainwashed members of these cults driving by a victim's home at a certain night, exiting or entering the neighborhood at a set time, or performing a harassment task or skit at a certain time of the day or night for the purpose of harassment to the target and victim. The number harassment may be done in synchronicity with other members of these cults. An example is that 3 o'clock every morning, I'm woke up with direct energy weapon getting blasted and pulsated with electrical pulses to my brain and make it feel like it's frying. Sensation. Sensation is a psychological term referred to forced association between stimuli and corresponding reaction. Members of these groups use sensitization to physically abuse a victim. For example, if a stalker constantly harasses a victim while wearing a blue baseball cap, then over time the victim will begin to believe anyone wearing a blue baseball cap is a stalker and coming to harass. Sensitization is getting targets to sensitize to everyday stimuli, color patterns, everyday actions, red stripes, pins, whistles, loud coughing, clapping, keys jingling, etc. Street theater. Street theater is a term used to describe the odd actions and behaviors that stalkers, sometimes neighbors, do in public in an attempt to rile the victim. Such behavior often borders on the extremely bizarre and is aimed at blurring of the boundaries between reality and fantasy in the mind of the victims. This is running into people that are actually very unusual, or people that are putting on a show or a production known as street theater. Example given. This could be as a minor public rudeness or people acting out a harassment skit. They will usually be someone nearby to see how you react to it. This is again looking for weakness or reactions. If you show an adverse reaction, they will try to embellish on this and use it against you later on. Street theater is harassment skits done by strangers and neighbors who have been recruited into these stalking and harassment groups. Examples of street theater: baiting, briding, color harassment, convoys, directed conversation, ghosting, mimicry and noise campaigns, and etc. Synchronized harassment activities. Synchronized activities refer to the synchronized activities done by members of these groups to harass a target, which may include but not limited to neighbors arriving home at the same time, leaving at the same time, or strangers or neighbors leaving or arriving home at the same time. Example given: a neighbor leaves his house or her house at the same time another neighbor arrives home. A neighbor arrives home at the exact time, and a complete stranger or pedestrian walks by a target's home. The synchronized activity is one of the main techniques used in harassing the target and is repeated. The synchronized harassment will turn into a pattern and may include use of numbers such as 2 neighbors arriving home at 3:13 and 2 other neighbors leaving their home at 3:30. The same neighbors arrives back home at 3:43. Synchronized harassment activities can be done with almost anything: neighbors arriving and exit, aircraft flying overhead as neighbors are leaving their home, harassment telephone calls made to the target's home, just as neighbors who have been recruited into the harassment are leaving or arriving. The key to this is timing and frequency. The main motivation behind synchronized harassment activities is, again, that if the target complains about this type of harassment, he or she may be perceived as mentally ill. Slander. They will go beyond the target's back and tell lies about them. Often lies will consist of the target being into something illegal or something dangerous or needs to be watched for some vague reason. They will say the target is a prostitute, drug dealer, crazy, terrorist, racist, pedophile, etc. Sleep deprivation. Noise campaigns depriving the target of sleep is a really good way of leaving the target stressed. It's also a way of leaving disoriented and functioning at less than 100%. The targets can be baited into reacting in public. And you know what? I'm going to have to do a part 2 because 27 minutes and I'm running out. So anyway, I hope I helped somebody today. And I'm not a perp. I wish I wasn't a TI. But however, man, there's got to be something good for us in the end. We can't suffer through all this every day, man. I don't know, man. I don't want to say there's something good at the end because there might not be, But I like to think that, man, we were chosen for something, And I hope one day we get rewarded for the, God said He gives you back double what Satan took from you. So, I just hope, it happens one day. Anyway, God bless y'all. I pray for every target every night before I go to bed and throughout the day when I pray. And I love y'all.